100 years ago, on this very date, 18-year-old Poole Field and his troop of 30 young Northwest Mounted Police recruits from Regina enjoyed their third day here in Vancouver. The next morning, they marched from the Metropole Hotel on Abbott Street to the Union Steamship Company wharf, boarded the SS Cooch with 148 black Labrador dogs, and steamed for Skagway, the Yukon Territories, and, for Poole Field, the fulfillment of a childhood dream and the remarkable 50 years in the far Northwest. After 2 years of Yukon service at the Tagish Customs Post on the Yukon River, Constable Field took his discharge and stampeded west to Nome and Fairbanks, taking work on fishing boats, mushing the winter's mail, and trapping. He sought his fortune. In 1903, he returned east to the Upper Pelly and his legacy. For as a child, he had heard the stirring tales of Pelly River exploration from Robert Cambell, an old friend of his grandfather, and the Hudson Bay Company Yukon pioneer who had first traveled that southeastern Yukon country. At the tiny settlement of Ross River, Poole established himself as a trader, trapper, prospector, and explorer. His ease with people and the gift for storytelling made him many friends among both natives and whites. In 1905, he left with the Fort Norman Dene Indians on their eastern return trip over the mountains and down the Nahanni and Mackenzie rivers to the Great Bear Lake. By 1908, Poole was back again at Ross River, now with his native wife, Kitty Tom. A natural leader, Poole drew many others to Ross River. In 1914, he assisted Cecil Swanson, a novice Anglican deacon sent there by Bishop Stringer, and in 1917, the RCMP established a Ross River post. Poole's reach extended even to Ottawa, with written accounts of the native customs, their history, and samples of their crafts. Poole left Ross River in 1917, after pneumonia took the lives of his wife and younger daughter. He made Carmacks his home until 1919, then left the Yukon with his daughter Tanny and Mary Adele Lafferty, the wife of his former partner, Billy Atkinson. Traveling via Vancouver and Edmonton and down the Athabasca waterways, they reestablished themselves in the Northwest Territories, where Poole opened trading posts at Trout Lake, Nahanni Butte, and Fort Simpson. After a time, his Yukon friends, Joe Cody, Jack Stanya, and others joined him. With the discovery of petroleum at Norman Wells by the Imperial Oil Company, Poole revisited Fort Norman with Tanny and Mary in 1921 to see what all the fuss was about. And the following winter, in 22, Poole led his own stampede to Lafferty Creek on the South Nahanni River in search of gold. With his second wife, Mary, Poole reared 2 more children, Phoebe and Richard. He continued to assist the RCMP in their investigations and to promote the Nahanni River with supplies, encouragement, and tall tales. With the northern arrival of the airplane and aerial exploration in the late 20s, Poole took on a prominent role as chief guide and expediter for several mining companies and big game hunters. In the 40s, he helped establish the Northern U.S. Army Air Corps Depot at Fort Providence, and with them moved his family to Aklavik in 1944. Tragically, his young, lovely daughter, Phoebe, drowned in a boating accident on the Mackenzie Delta in 46, and Poole resumed the search for gold, this time in the far northern Yukon on the Firth River. Stricken with cancer the following year, he was flown from Dawson to Vancouver, where he died 2 weeks later at St. Paul's Hospital on April 22, 1948, his brother Samuel at his side. The Reverend Cecil Swanson, Poole's 1914 Anglican friend, gave the benediction at his burial here in Forest Lawn Cemetery, stating that Poole was one of the finest Yukoners and the best musher he had been privileged to know.
Poole Field was my great-uncle. My father, also Poole Field, was named after the man we are remembering today. Poole was noted in the family Bible as born on March 15, 1880 at Big Point, or Tautogan. Tautogan was a way station on a trail at the south end of Lake Manitoba. Poole's father, Edward, in his autobiography, mentions relocating across Manitoba due to high waters and it being no small undertaking. He said, "We had 4 small children, one 3 months old. That was Poole, so he started his adventures at an early age. They settled in Shell River, now Russell, Manitoba, for 8 years, so Poole probably started school there. A move to Fort Pelly for 4 years put Poole around St. Andrew's Anglican Mission, and he probably got some schooling there. Then a move to Fishing Lake took place. The Foam Lake history book says there was a Northwest Mounted Police detachment at Fishing Lake. This is probably when and where Poole served as a Northwest Mounted Police Special Constable on occasions, before joining the Northwest Mounted Police full-time at age 18. Poole was fourth in a family of 10, 7 boys and 3 girls. Poole's father, Edward, left England in 1866 at age 21, worked briefly in a bank in Minnesota, then worked for the Hudson's Bay Company, then independently as a trader and rancher trader in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Poole's mother was Catherine McIver. Catherine was born in the Northwest Territories, the daughter of Alan McIver, a Hudson's Bay Company employee from the Isle of Lewis in Scotland, and Elizabeth Beeds, who was the daughter of John Beeds. This John Beeds was a Métis who worked for the Hudson's Bay Company at forts and posts on rivers draining into James Bay from northern Ontario. Poole always had a lot of self-esteem, and he handled adversity with dignity. In a letter from Poole's brother Sam to my father, Sam describes Poole's last days in just that way. Poole had 2 children from his first wife, Kitty Tom, who died young with one of the daughters. The other daughter, Bertha or Tanny, married Art Watson, and several of the children and grandchildren are here today. There were 2 children, Dick and Phoebe, from his second wife, Mary Lafferty. Phoebe died young at Aklavik, and Dick died just this last August in Dawson City. Thank you.
Fire! Reload. Present. Fire! Reload. Present. Fire!